Hello, and welcome to the Narrowing Path, Walking the Spiritual Walk. My name is Stephen Einstein. Thank y'all for joining me again tonight as we do today's daily reading from James Allen's Daily Meditations. This, of course, will be fresh to you and fresh to me, meaning that you'll get my genuine response, reactions, observations, and what I relate to about the reading, because this will be the first time that I hear it or read it right here on this podcast with you. So I'm looking forward to it. The first couple of days of October have been really, really great. And the way it ended yesterday was I just liked the way he states things, right? All sin and temptation are the natural outcome of thoughts of the individual. It's just straightforward. You are responsible for your sins, for the temptations. You can't put that on other people, individuals, or circumstances. So here we go. Let's go ahead and see what October 3rd brings us. So here we are, October 3rd's reading from James Allen's Daily Meditations. Guard well your thoughts, reader, for what you really are in your secret thoughts today, you will become an actual deed. There is nothing hidden that shall not be revealed, and every thought that is harbored in the mind must, by virtue of that impelling force which is inherent in the universe, at last blossom into act, good or bad according to its nature. The divine teacher and the sensualist are both the product of their own thoughts, and have become what they are as a result of the seeds of thought which they have implanted or allowed to fall into the garden of the heart, and have afterwards watered, tended, and cultivated. Let no man think he can overcome sin and temptation by wrestling with opportunity. He can only overcome them by purifying his thoughts. Man can only attract that to him which is in harmony with his nature. I like that. I like that line in there. The divine teacher and the sensualist are both the product of their own thoughts, right? It's not saying you become spiritual because you've had certain experiences in your life. It's not saying you become uh, your external circumstances dictate your perspective on life. They certainly can if you allow them. But what he's saying here is all the thinking. The divine teacher and the sensualist. So a sensualist being somebody that just lives in their own, right? They live in their self-indulgent, self-pleasuring ways, right? They just out to feel good all the time and be wrapped up in their own emotional roller coaster. Two completely opposite ends of the spectrum. Those that act on emotion, those that act on principle and virtue. So, here we go. Let's go through this again. Guard well your thoughts, reader, for what you really are in your secret thoughts today, you will become an actual deed. This is kind of what we've been talking about, right? So, whatever is lurking in the bottom of your mind, that flashing thought, that remote hint, right? It comes up and you dismiss it. It comes up and you dismiss it. Eventually, it will find its way into your regular thinking. Eventually, it will find its way into your actions. If you do not take a look at what it is, if you not take a look at it and understand it, and then dismiss it and replace it with something different or with something better. You have to have an understanding of what these temptations are. Where are they coming from, right? Why do you want to drink? Why do you want to gamble? Why do you want to cheat? Why do you want to binge watch Netflix? Why do you want to be angry? Right? Guard well your thoughts, reader, for what you really are in your secret thoughts today, You will become an actual deed. So be careful what you're thinking about. Be careful what thoughts you're entertaining and be willing to do the work because those thoughts will come to the surface. They will come to fruition. There is nothing hidden that shall not be revealed. And that's in quotes. Not sure where he quoted it from, but I believe it. There is nothing hidden that shall not be revealed. I don't, there's a couple people these days that are saying this, and I tend to agree with it because it's been my direct experience. You don't get away with anything. You don't, you can't hide something forever. It doesn't work that way. You might get away with something for an amount of time. But who's paying the cost for that entire thing? The whole time you're living in fear, living in suspicion, questioning things, questioning people because you've acted in a way that, or you have something that you need to hide, something that you're scared of to come to light. But everything eventually will. That's the thing. Everything will. There is nothing hidden that shall not be revealed. A very, very true statement. And and every thought that is harbored in the mind must, by virtue of the impelling force which is inherent in the universe, at last blossom into act good or bad according to its nature. So every thought that you have will be a cause, and there will be an effect that you don't control, that you don't intend sometimes, that you did not want, but you entertained the thought long enough that the opportunity presented itself for that action to occur. That is intense. Realize this. There is no innocent thought. There is no only living in the mind. It is always just a matter of time if you don't do the work, if you don't take the time to understand it, right? You will commit the sin because because you kept yourself in ignorance. Ignorance led to the sin. The thought, the lack of willingness, the intentional ignorance, then the sin. It's not, how to say it? It's not rocket science. That's what they say. It's not. It's pretty straightforward, actually. You just got to be willing to accept that as the answer. A lot of people want to argue with it and wrestle with it and push it and manipulate it and form it into theirs. But it's pretty upfront, pretty standard answer, honestly. And then when that thought comes to blossom, when the actions are taken, in other words, it will be good or bad according to its nature. It will be selfish or selfless according to its nature. So whatever you're thinking about, if you're thinking about being selfless, if you're thinking about being of service, being kind and inspiring and loving, hopeful, courageous, honest, those things will come. If you're thinking about any of the other, those things will come too. They just will. You bring those things towards you, really. You act in ways which bring about a situation for the final action to be carried out. This is the line I referenced earlier. The divine teacher and the sensualist are both the product of their own thoughts and have become what they are as the result of the seeds of thought which they have implanted or allowed to fall into the garden of the heart and have afterwards watered, tended, and cultivated. We have nurtured these things. We have grown these things. These things have served us, the good and the bad. Let's be very clear here. And that this is the point of the entire reading. The divine teacher and the sensualist are both the product of their own thought. The divine teacher chose the virtuous principles, the virtuous way of living, the righteous, thinking about only those things, feeding themselves a spiritual diet, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And therefore, yeah, he became the divine teacher. The sensualist fed himself only thoughts of pleasure, self-centeredness, self-serving, self-indulgent, self-importance. And and it turns into the appropriate response, the harmonized reality. I use that word because you used it at the end. But harmony. We bring to us what we hold within us. It's the truth. And these thoughts that we have, we don't battle them, right? We play with them almost, or we tend them, we cultivate and grow these thoughts of both kind. Well, maybe I should say of either, right? Because we don't know. We don't know when. Excuse me, that wasn't the word I wanted to say. We don't know. We're in the purification process, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. So not everything we plant, not everything we tend will be the right thing, but we grow through that. Let no man think he can overcome sin and temptation by wrestling with opportunity. You can't sequester yourself away from these things. It talks about in the literature and 12-step groups that regardless of circumstance, regardless of safeguards put in the sense of like isolation and taking it out of the house and not hanging around with the old friend group and not going to bars and not going to the drug houses and whatever. That doesn't work. We will always find it. We will always seek it out. It will always drop right in our laps at some point. You can't hide from these things. That's the reality of it. You can't hide from it. You can't wrestle with the opportunity. You can only overcome them by purifying his thoughts. That's what we're talking about. Yeah, the purification process. Doing the actual work. Do the work. It'll be more rewarding than you ever knew possible. And now the end line here. The man can only attract that to him which is in harmony with his nature. You will bring to you what you hold within you. Your most deepest desire and your most deeply held fears. You'll find yourself surrounded by both. And believe me when I tell you, your desires aren't always what you think they are. They aren't always what you assume they would be. It's pretty surprising when you take a look at it from that perspective. So, but all right, well, that's where we'll end for the evening. And incredible reading. Loved this one. October is off to a very strong start, which I always love. So I am looking forward to tomorrow's. And until next time, thanks.